You're listening to Why We Do What We Do. Welcome to Why We Do What We Do. I am your conference promoting host, Abraham.
Yeah, and I'm your conference going host, Shane.
We're a psychology podcast. We talk about all of the things that people do and animals. And sometimes we talk about ways that people get together in like a learning format. And one of the ways that people do that sometimes is conferences.
Yes, that's true. And we are really excited because today we have an interview. It's a little bit different than our normal format, but we do have an interview with some folks through the Black Applied Behavior Analysis Conference, the BABA organization here. And I think the interview is really great. And it's a lot of fun, and they're really wonderful. They were really wonderful guests to have. But I think super interesting because people don't really know how conferences work, and it's a lot more expensive than people know.
Yeah, we ended up talking, I mean, to put it on, not so much to go.
Yeah, right.
Probably not as much as they need to make it really worthwhile to put it on in the first place. But, you know, it is a volunteer effort. For those of you who do go to conferences, slightly different from conventions, we do get into sort of the behind the scenes a little bit on sort of what it takes to put together a conference of this nature. And this is what they're putting on is called a mini con.
Yes, which is usually like a single track, but this one I think is a little bit different. So, and we'll get into all of that. We'll get into all the details. I would also like to add at the top of the show, this is not a paid interview.
Correct.
Just to be clear, like I don't want everybody thinking that they like showed up and paid and they were like, oh yeah, here's money and then we'll talk about this. No, like we wanted them on the show. They wanted to be on the show. Like it ended up being a really cool, really good synergy, if you will.
Yeah.
Whatever that word means.
So I think whether or not you're in the field of behavior analysis, whether or not you've ever been to a conference, professional or otherwise, it's a fun conversation. It's nice to hear other people's voices. I think it is kind of inspiring to hear the journey that they've been on and what this conference does and stands for and how much work has gone into making it happen. So even if you are listening to this thinking, I'm not really sure what's here for me, I encourage you to get through it and see what you see throughout because they were really wonderful guests.
Yes, and support.
Yes, absolutely. Well, before we dive into this, we're going to acknowledge that this episode comes out on Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth.
Yay! Happy Juneteenth, folks. It's also Emancipation Day, which is a state holiday in Texas.
Okay. But it's National Thank a Teacher Day.
Ah, yes. It's also Garfield the Cat Day.
Sure. It's Real Food Day.
That's fun. It's National Eat an Oreo Day.
Huh. It is World Sickle Cell Day.
It's also World Sauntering Day.
Okay. It is National Watch Day.
It's also International Day for the Elimination of Sexual Violence and Conflict.
Oh, agreed. We'll have this day and then it will be gone forever.
Uh-huh.
That's the way that works.
Yeah, that's how holidays work, y'all.
Importantly, it is Animal Rights Awareness Week.
Yes. It's also Amateur Radio Week if you're a fan of the ham radio.
Man, this is a sort of hot topic and maybe politically charged. It is Refugee Week.
Yes. Only this week, though.
That's right.
As we've established how awareness weeks work and all that. So
all borders are open to refugees right now this week.
Go. It's Carpenter Ant Awareness Week.
Okay. It is National Forgiveness Week.
It is National Pollinator Week.
It is Learning Disability Week. That's an important one. We deal with that.
Yes, it is. We do. It's National Roller Coaster Week. Unless you have vertigo, then it's the worst week of your life.
National Play Catch Week.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's Old Time Fiddlers Week.
And we have some month stuff too. It's also African American Music Appreciation Month. And keeping on some of the theme of other things that we said, it's National Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Month. And then there's also the National Pet Preparedness Month and National Foster a Pet Month and National Microchipping Month. A lot to do with pets in June.
I like that. Also, this day in sports, in 1955, Mickey Mantle hits his 100th career home run.
Wow. Also, I don't know why we haven't said this yet, but it's Pride Month.
Yes, happy Pride.
Yeah.
So a lot of good things to celebrate.
Also, I'm going to acknowledge just two birthdays. It is apparently Zoe Saldana's birthday today and Salman Rushdie's birthday today. So,
oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
And other people that I'm not going to give any space to.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, but we just talk about holidays because it's fun and there's like certain things to say about those holidays. And sometimes, occasionally, one of our episodes will actually release on a major holiday like Juneteenth. And so we're happy to share those with everybody. And some of them, we've got international listeners. Maybe some of them are celebrating some of those world, more global international holidays. I don't know, but we're trying to recognize you as much as we can. I think what we'll go ahead and do now, though, is cut to this interview. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we make the transition, Shane?
No, I think we say it all in the interview, which is just basically register for the conference. If you can't volunteer at the conference or do any of those things, donate to the conference, do all those things. And we'll talk about that in the episode.
In the show notes, we'll have links and stuff for you to follow if you're interested in learning more. Be interested in learning more. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and I'll cue Justin now to play a transition to get us to that interview.
Hit it, Justin.
All right, welcome to Why We Do What We Do interview style. I'm going to introduce, we have some guests here. This is Jackie Bediako. Oh, very nice.
Yes.
Sweet. I got it. And Tiana Moore. I'll start with you, Jackie, if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go over to you, Tiana.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for having me. So my name is Jackie Bediako. I am the membership chair at Black Applied Behavior Analysts. I'm also an independent BCBA, so I provide home-based services in New Jersey and New York. So I'm actually based in New Jersey. And I've also been a BCBA since 2017.
Nice. Very good. And Tiana.
Alrighty. So hello, I am Tiana Moore. I work as a senior clinical director with Action Behavior Centers professionally. When it comes with BABA, I am our current treasurer. I am based out of Texas, and I'm also the mother to two lovely humans, a 4-year-old, well, soon to be 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So they're keeping me on my toes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
One of the things we just want to start with, jumping right into this here, is as you mentioned, you're both here on behalf of the Black Applied Behavior Analysis Association and the conference coming up. So I always like to just jump right into sort of the conference and what's going on with that. We'll also acknowledge that this episode publishes on Juneteenth, which is fantastically serendipitous for the date and relevant to this conference, and is about a month out from the conference, right?
That is right. Yes, the conference is occurring from June 19th to the 21st. And yeah, we're super excited that this will be out on Juneteenth, because that's actually the day that we're offering a 19% discount on conference registrants as well. So the conference is actually our first mini-con. So we're super excited about that. That means that it's happening over that weekend. And it's really a conference focused on building community between our attendees and giving folks an in-person space to connect around ABA, but also have fun. One thing that we would say is we would love for folks listening to go ahead and look at registration, and they can at babainfo.org/conference.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that that's included in the show notes as well. And I think just you said that it's July 19th to the 21st, right? So it's coming up then. Okay, cool. So exciting. So it's in Baltimore this year, but it's also virtual, right? Because historically it's been in Detroit, right?
So the first couple of conferences we did have in Detroit, it was never Baba's intention to hold the conferences just in one particular city as we're kind of going through just organizational pieces. But as it stands now, as we are working through just our rebirth and our realignment with who and what we are as an organization, we have selected a city, a location that is more in line with Baba's exciting period of renewal and rebirth, which has really been focusing on changing and developing our operational systems. And during our structuring process, our president really discussed that we would be selecting a city, selecting a space that was just more aligned or continue to be aligned with our goals to be able to support our community and cultivate those experiences. So transitioning from Detroit, which is also a very Black city. We are now transitioning to another space, another location that will be able to embody that aspect of our conference.
Yeah.
Also, during our BlackCon conference, our president will be able to discuss more of the decisions that were come up that helped to determine our rebranding within the Baltimore community as well.
Okay. And how long have you have both of you been affiliated with BABA?
So I've actually been with BABA for a year and a half, and I really came to BABA because I was searching for a community that I could connect with, including Black clinicians, and really looking for a space where I would feel safe and not so isolated. So BABA really gave me that community. And just to add to what Tiana had said around Baltimore, we're also super excited to be bringing the conference to a city that is so rich in Black culture, in music. It's vibrant, it's energetic, and we think that will be a really important space for attendees to connect around the science and also just to have fun, just to enjoy themselves and just to let loose. So we're super excited about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's something really wonderful about being in a city that's like a cool city for a conference too, because I've been to conferences, and I'm sure Abraham, you've had this experience too, where we've been to conferences because we've been doing this forever at this point in time, and just been to conferences where the cities are just not great.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, man, there is nothing to do here except for stay in my hotel. I think there was one time I went to a city in Canada and it was like negative 10 degrees. I literally couldn't see any of the city anyway. So I was like, this is just the worst. So the city is important. I think the conference itself is important. You brought up that this is a mini con. So can you give everybody some insight on especially because we want people to have fun. We want people, you're wanting people to like kind of let loose and enjoy it and then like connect with the science. And we really want this to have like a certain, I believe as the kids say, a vibe. If we're unpacking it that way, first, what is a mini con? So people know. And two, you talked about kind of like making it fun and immersive. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like too.
Alrighty. So our BlackCon is of course our first mini con, and it is more intentionally focused on cultivating a community while we're also able to learn from some of those top Black industry leaders who are deeply aligned with BABA's uplift and empowerment of the Black people. Our mini conference is starting off Friday with a networking event where we're hosting some powerful symposiums that following day. So the biggest difference from the previous conferences to the mini con is that this mini con is going to have just one day of just very powerful, very engaging speakers. It's one track where really focusing on that particular day, and then our other days are going to also include our gala, and then we're going to close with a members only event. So we're encompassing learning while also being able to be very intentional and cultivating spaces of community and opportunities of engagement together.
Cool.
Yes. And I think adding to that in terms of the minicon, like we're super excited that we've been able to kind of move through this pause and kind of reopen with access to a minicon in Baltimore. And we've been really thoughtful about our selection of speakers. And we're just excited about having folks who can really come and speak to the science and also speak to their expertise. And so, mixing that fun, right? So mixing the thought of being in a Renaissance gala, right? And really thinking about that theme. And then, as Tiana had mentioned, having the chance to take part in a members only reunion in the park and just relax and connect and unwind. And then also just having access to the opportunity to network, as has been discussed. So really having the chance to network within this Vegas themed night and network with other clinicians, right? So I'm based in New Jersey. I work in New York City. I'm excited to connect with other clinicians that are out in California or out in Michigan. So really giving us that space to come together. And it's immersive because it's a full conference experience. So, as Tiana had mentioned, it is a mini con. It's still a full conference experience where you get the learning piece, you get the excitement, you get the connection, you get the fun. And it's all within this theme of rebirth, right? And reconnection and rebuilding and restructuring. So we're super excited about this conference. Again, you guys can check out registration at barbainfo.org/conference in case you're thinking, oh, I want to be there. I want to be in Baltimore.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that the links and stuff are all linked up in the show notes too.
Yes.
So for anybody listening, please make sure to grab that. We'll share that out too, so it's nice and easy to access and all that fun stuff.
Well, I hate to interrupt with something as nonsensical and superfluous as ads, but here they are. All right, let's get back to it.
Abraham, I don't know if you've had this experience. I've had the experience of going to a couple mini cons, and they're actually a lot of fun when they're done really well.
That's great.
I think I've been to AZABA and CoFABA. Both of those tend to be single track days where the speakers are selected. It's designed to be like almost like a single room. Everybody's there to learn the same thing. We have some discussions and stuff like that. But the difference is, and I think something that y'all are doing that's really cool, is that you have these explicit networking events. That doesn't happen, I don't think, in the same way at these other organizations, or like just as a general rule, where there's just like really explicit, hey, come hang out. This is all we're doing during this time. We would love to have you network and communicate and connect. And so I guess maybe a question I would have for y'all, just as a general thing, would be, why is that so intentional and so important for your conference? Like, why is that something that you wanted to carve out and make sure was happening compared to some other conferences?
So one of the pieces with the Black community is that we're underrepresented in a lot of different components, and then more specifically within the field. And sometimes it can feel like we're just on an island, you know, really. We have individuals who may work in a clinic center setting, who may be home-based, who may be independent contractors. So they may not be able to have that opportunity to meet and to collaborate and to cultivate relationships with others. So being able to take these learning opportunities, it also is just as important for us to learn as to have space to meet other people, to be able to just kind of gather amongst our community and to know that, you know, while when you're at home or when you're out in the field and working, it may feel like you're a little bit alone, but in reality, you're not. You know, you can create some relationships so that when you go back, you have people that you can reach out to who may understand some of the challenges you are just maybe experiencing. Just that island feeling sometimes.
I love that.
I think as well, fellowship as well is a central part of our values, which our president, Denisha Gingles, and board members will discuss more at BlackCon, kind of like how we've worked through this pause and how we've established our values. And so creating those spaces for fellowship, those spaces to network across different professions. So we're not, we're embracing BCBAs and BCBATs. We're also talking about BCBADs, and we're also talking about RBTs, right? We're also talking about behavior technicians, BCABAs. What opportunities can we create for folks across the different levels of the field to network and engage? So that's why that event, the networking event, is so key to our values and foundational beliefs.
And then just as we're talking about those that are in the field professional, we have the goal of navigating and being able to support the families as well. So we have parents who, have been able to benefit from BABA's offerings and like some things that we've been able to offer via scholarships or just resources. So it's also helps support those families and understanding like, hey, sometimes it also feels like, there's only one way to navigate your child or to navigate the family expectations, but it gives them additional resources and support that way as well.
I got to say, I think it's very cool, very amazing to see how much, is going on with all of this. I mean, this sounds like a really cool conference. I've unfortunately not been. And now I'm very curious and would like to, check out, as Shane said, probably have to do the online version. I'm not able to travel much right around these times, but having that be available, I assume that this is a CEU event for people who are BCBAs who need some CEUs as well.
Yes, this is a CEU event for people that are BCBAs. So we are offering CEUs through our speaker events. Yes.
Perfect. Great. And just thinking about not that long ago, the field looked a lot like just Shane and myself, and that was it. And so seeing the kind of diversity that's available, we just badly needed it for us to have our science be helpful for the most possible people and be clinically applicable. And so I really love the opportunity that this conference is cultivating to foster, further growth and really include more people that have a lot to offer and a lot to share and a lot to teach us and their own experiences as well. So I guess if you had to pick one thing you're most looking forward to, each of you at this conference, what would be the highlights that you like? This is the get the foot in the door for people that you're going to enjoy and that other people might enjoy.
I can jump in. I'm actually looking forward to all of it. So I'm totally pumped about the whole conference, and it's hard for me to separate the days.
Okay.
What I am especially looking forward to, though, is the chance to connect with folks in person. So really getting there, arriving in Baltimore, reconnecting, finding out how folks are doing, just having those real conversations. I'm super excited about that. And I do live in New Jersey and I practice in New York City. So Harlem Renaissance Gala, I'm going to be excited about. Cannot wait for that. Already planning my outfit for that. So that's me.
I love that.
Very cool.
I share the same sentiments as Jackie. I'm really excited to be able to see everyone I have been able to see and meet and learn from over the last few years since Baba's inception. So just being able to continue to hug on somebody and just give them a good squeeze and catch up in person and have that conversation. I'm also excited about the gala. Any reason to dress up, that I love my children are not centered around children. I'm here for it, I love them. Please let me know.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for that, just to see everyone, to see all of the hard work that we have put into play during this pause, this planning, to just come out and just be right there and just see it all pay off. I'm very excited for that.
Fantastic.
There's got to be something so rewarding about being able to put something. It's such an accomplishment, right? I've thought about conferences and thought about state organizations and stuff because I've been doing behavior analysis and been involved in behavior analysis for like the last 15 years. And my first experience was with FABA. And so that's a state organization. It's linked to ABAI. There's lots of stuff there. Like, we're not going to unpack all of that today, okay? I actually really love FABA. I think FABA has done a great job for advocating and doing this great job where I can go to a conference and I feel like it's a reunion. But that's an established, I guess, state conference and state organization that's been around for 50 years at this point in time, right? 40, 50 years. So when you think of like setting up a new conference, setting up a conference where Baba's only really a few years old, right? It's about 5 years old or so, roughly. Okay. So 5 years old, it's you're coming into your own, you're figuring out voice, you're figuring out values. That in itself, I would imagine, is a little bit challenging, right? There's growing pains, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But I also think that it probably feels really great to have accomplished all of this, to have a conference that is unique and specific to needs that you've identified and specific to values that you look at. So I guess maybe a question that I would have for y'all is, what do you feel is like the biggest accomplishment that you have had as part of BABA, or that you're most proud of as part of being with BABA, with being with the conference? Like, what do you kind of like put on, like, this is what I would put on my CV. This is the thing that I would shout from the mountaintops, is like, I am so proud of this thing that we've done.
I think the one thing that I'm really proud of when it comes to our conference, when it comes to our organization, our board members, is that we really push each other like out of those comfort zones and into the next zone and really like push. And so, although I'm doing this podcast, it's really important to know I'm not a fan of being like front and center. Public speaking is not my jam, not my thing. This is a little bit more calming. But during our very first conference was a virtual conference, and I was able to give our closing sentiments at that point in time. And then the next year, when we had our second conference and it was in person, to be able to have other people who at that point in time I've never met in my life kind of hone in on those words that I spoke the year before, it was beautiful. It very much like excited me. And it just was like, okay, you have things to share, and Baba pushes us to like know that we have things to share and to be validated in that and to grow in like being okay with speaking and being out in the front and center. And I think that even with some of our conferences, because I've been able to engage with some of the speakers, some of them, especially like the student ones, they are terrified when they go up there. And when they're done, they're like, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I did this. And it was presented to hundreds of people, but I was able to work through the nerves and, hey, I did it. And it's sometimes without intentional rooting, like how Baba plans, some of those speakers may not have had that opportunity, or it may have took them a little bit longer to get there. And it's just, I'm proud of us for how we are not afraid to stay grounded in what we believe in and how we are supporting one another.
That's so cool.
That's very cool. I agree.
There's a lot that I'm proud of when it comes to Baba. And I think for me, it does stretch back to 2019, right? And recognizing Kat Jackson, who kind of coined the organization and started this like within a Facebook group. And now we've grown to become an organization. So that is really powerful. That is really amazing. And I'm very proud that she gave us the foundation, right? And the space to be even having this conversation. I'm also proud of the work that we've done previously in terms of connecting with our members. Again, we're going to speak a little bit more about some of the commitments that we made during the pause at BlackCon and really go into detail about our 100-day plan and the work that we've done leading up to reopening with this conference. So I'm extremely proud of that. I'm excited about our commitments that we've made and our reconnection to what is foundational to the org, so centering Blackness and understanding that we have work to do, right? So Black folks are underrepresented in the field. We have 5.06% of us, according to the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, are represented at the BCBA, BCBA-D level. Roughly 13% of us are represented overall in the field. We're underrepresented given the high needs in this science. And so we're really seeking to understand how we can increase representation. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that we're saying, hey, these statistics are not good enough. We need better, and we want better, and we want to be represented. So I think that's for me what I'm very proud of.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's really fantastic, and I'm really excited for you all, this conference that you're doing. And it strikes me you have both done a pretty incredible amount of work, I think, with respect to this conference and with the organization as a whole. I guess the question I was just going to ask is sort of, I mean, I'm kind of in awe of how much you've been able to put this together. So like, what did it take to get this conference happening?
A lot of planning.
Let's say it's probably nice and simple, right? It's super easy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my softball question.
Yeah, so it's exactly that. So it's been a lot of planning, a lot of meetings under leadership that has been restructured. Our president, Denisha Gingles, our vice president, Cami Williams. We really looked at, how can we make a commitment to planning a conference that is going to be powerful, that is going to be inspiring, that is going to be immersive. And what that has actually meant weekly meetings, right? At like 8 p.m. on a Monday. It has meant a commitment to doing research, to reaching out to sponsors, to reaching out to folks, to really involve them in this conference. And I think this work has been voluntary, right? So we're here on a Sunday, this is voluntary. We do this out of service to the Black community. And that is really powerful. It's also part of the work. And so I just want to speak to that piece of things because I think it really does, again, speak to just how important this organization is and just how intentional we are in the work that we're doing.
All right, now's a good time to go and register for the conference. You should go do that. Stop this episode, go register during these ads, or just let them play and then register later. Either way is fine, but, ads. One of the things I think of too, you mentioned a lot of meetings, a lot of planning and stuff like that. I imagine that there's probably some hiccups that go along with finding venues and all that stuff. So what was maybe the surprising thing that you came up with or that you experienced when you were planning this conference? Because I think people don't realize what all goes into it. I mean, you all mentioned meetings, but you're talking about finding speakers, planning speakers, agreeing on who's even going to speak at the conference, right? Like, and what that looks like. So what were some of the more surprising things, like some of the more surprising headaches that came up when you were planning the conference? Because I think people don't realize how much work it goes into just organizing as even a single day of conference stuff.
I think that the biggest shock to everyone as we were going through planning is the cost. So some of us it'll be around this much for, I don't know, we'll just say a one-room reservation to hold one-room reservation, and to come back with that it's not that much, that the quotes that we're receiving, it's very different, or just the different costs just across, states and everything. So in Texas, what a DJ might cost is going to be, what I've learned, is significantly different than what one would cost in Michigan, as it is with Baltimore. So just really navigating the perceived cost expectations versus what those actuals have been. It's been a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, when they show up with that AV cost, you're like, are you kidding me right now?
I'll do it.
It costs how much to have somebody stand out of my room?
I think I'm in the wrong profession sometimes. I think we've said that quite a bit, actually. It's like, oh, they're charging this much for a day? Wrong profession. We need to all go back and figure something else out.
Oh, yeah. AV, food, even just having coffee is its own expense, and people don't even realize having accessible coffee for people at a conference can be quite a bit, let alone all the other things. So
absolutely, yeah. So I think Tiana definitely spoke to the cost being a challenge for us, and recognizing that we are currently in the space where we're still looking for businesses to sponsor events at the conference, which they can also access in your link. So if folks are interested in sponsoring and supporting our work, if you cannot register for BlackCon, which is taking place in July, you can sponsor, or you can actually donate as well. So there are ways to support. I think the other thing to add is also that recognizing that our speakers, so speakers who come from the Black community, who are speaking on various topics, including, functioning as a professional in ABA, including examining a historical analysis of spiritual practices, for example, from the West African diaspora, really thinking about building their business. These speakers are highly sought after speakers. So recognizing that is a challenge for us when we are seeking access to speakers, to Black speakers, and understanding that they may not be available for BlackCon, right? We really want them there. We'd love for them to share, but they have a packed schedule, or they might be on vacation. So that's definitely a challenge for us, and it's a challenge that we've been able to navigate. And so we're super, super fortunate that we have been able to secure the amazing speakers that will be at BlackCon next month. So super excited about that.
I was actually going to ask, what sort of talks people could be, on the lookout for. I've definitely found, and Shane, I'm interested to hear your idea, but over the years, I felt like I sort of see the same talks over and over again. And so I'm more drawn now to things that are not, what I'm used to seeing. I'm like, I'm here to learn. I'd like to see something that's outside of what I normally see at one of these conferences. And I'm always interested to, just hear someone else's voice and ideas and perspective and topic that I haven't before, because again, for me, that's an opportunity to learn. And I did want to ask a really quick, or maybe I'll say something and let you expand on it. But as you mentioned, the planning of this is a huge part of being able to put on any kind of conference. And the trick is, of course, that I think maybe people don't think about sometimes, that you're sort of, it's kind of a hope and a prayer. You're like, we're going to put this together. We're on a hope that this many people attend. And that for that reason, it's so massively important for people to register early. as soon as they know they're going to come, or even, honestly, just the more notice you have, the better you're able to plan and execute on a flawless conference. So just as a thing to add is like, if you're thinking of going, like, first of all, go, but second of all, register right away so that, everyone on working to put this conference together has the notice that they can plan around what to expect in terms of attendance. Because that means different things for different numbers. 100 people showing up is very different than 1,000 people showing up in terms of what you've got to do.
Absolutely. Yes. Register. If you register today, June 19, you do have the chance to receive a 19% discount to attend the conference in July. So that is an important point. Like, we're in the planning processes right now, but we're like solidifying everything. So registering as soon as possible is key. In terms of the speakers, we have a wide range of speakers. One example, for example, is Dr. Denise Ross.
Okay.
Speaking on us, the power of supportive sister circles in our career journeys, right? And so we're really looking to hone in on professionals who have the expertise, thinking about mindful activism, seeking wellness, and educational justice, right? And so really these kinds of presentations, this is the conference event of the year, right? You're not going to get these presentations anywhere and everywhere. And that's why we're so excited to have these speakers represented, right? Another example is enhancing clinical prescriptions and applied behavior analysis, right? So I'm excited. I am totally pumped at the thought of being able to sit and immerse myself in these speakers. And I'm hoping that attendees and folks who are thinking about registering are now like, whoa, I need to register. Like, I need to be in Baltimore in July.
Can I just say, I got to say, Jackie, you and I have worked together on some things in the past, and it's always been really wonderful. I just want everybody to know that if you don't know Jackie, the thing is that she sounds like this really amazing, like almost like a hired gun hype woman right now. But like the truth is like she is so enthusiastic about this. Is like legitimately like authentic. How like this is all real. Like this is not her just going like you should go. Like this is very much so like no, I believe in this. This is a value of mine. So like I want everybody to know who doesn't know Jackie like that. This is like. It's so great to hear you talk about it and be so enthusiastic about it because I know how enthusiastic you are about it.
I appreciate that. Yes. And I think that, that is the truth. I am enthusiastic about it. And I think to add, I'm a bit of an introvert, right? So I'm definitely someone who, if I have the option, I'll probably just kind of log in and do my CEUs online and not kind of have to engage with folks. And Tiana is laughing because she knows it's true. And so, but this is the conference where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to hop on that train and I'm going to go down to Baltimore and I'm going to be there and I'm going to represent and I'm going to connect with folks. And I think, I'm also someone who is super passionate about the science of applied behavior analysis. I believe in the science. I believe it works. And I believe that our perspective, right, the perspective offered by Black folks in the field is a powerful, essential, and important perspective. And I think all we do is we just add to the existing body of science and we really move things to another level and another conversation. So that is why I'm so excited. That is why I'm pumped on a Sunday morning. I also do have coffee as well. So that's a part of it.
The secret ingredient to most productivity.
That does help. That does help. Yep.
I wish I could say it helped for me, right? At this point, it's just the taste is just to say, hey, you got it. For me, I share the same sentiments with Jackie and just like being able to be present, like when I recently, I talk about the conference a lot at work. And so I think sometimes people are like, oh, you're just trying to plug it in. And it's just like, no, if you have never been to a BABA conference, you are literally missing out. And even this time around, it's so much just like social engagement planned intentionally and networking planned intentionally that it's just, I'm like quivering and just cannot wait. The anticipation is insane, like let's get there. And I'm ready. I'm so ready to be amongst everyone and amongst our community and amongst people who look like me and who are able to teach me and be present with me. So
yeah. to that sentiment, Tiana, that you just mentioned, I have heard that from multiple people.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't heard that from people who are just involved with Baba. Like, I've heard that from multiple people who have attended or like been involved with the organization and done work with them. And I've heard that sentiment, that general sentiment over the years, like since Baba has come up. So I don't think that that's like a uniquely individual feeling in terms of like, this is just, I'm really excited about this. I think that there's a general buzz around this conference because I think people genuinely enjoy the stuff that Baba's doing. Whether it is the conference, whether it is the activism work where you are getting donations to help get scholarships out to people, like, which is stuff that a lot of organizations don't really spend a lot of time highlighting too, right? Like the donations go back into supporting members of the community, students that are coming into the programs. I mean, this is not, and I think this is something that people conflate, which they'll say, oh, Baba is a conference. It's like Baba, there's the conference part and then there's the organization part, and they do so many things for the folks that they represent. And I think that is so critically important for people to walk away with this too, is it's not just about the conference, because like conferences are cool, but it's an annual thing. But how great is it to support the organization over the year, you know, over the next year, into the next conference, into the next 5 conferences, and like taking those values and taking that and bring them back into clinical practice. So I just wanted to make a point of that too, because I want people to know that like, we're not just talking about the conference. We are also talking about the incredible work that Baba's doing too.
I wanted to jump in real quick with a question, because that made me think that like one of the things I feel like people should know in hearing this and maybe thinking whether or not they're going to go is from both of you, and to what extent do you feel like this conference and Baba more generally has, I guess, affected you professionally and even personally?
That's a great question in the sense of like, when you're not trying to think like altruistically, like I'm doing this for the good, you know, how has this organization affected me? I stated earlier, I'm pretty introverted. Throughout this entire like educational process and everything, I've always been involved in something, whether it's community-based, school-based, that was meant for like, the Black community, and just kind of developing within that space, whichever project I've been on. But when it comes to Baba specifically, it has really just helped me just know that I'm not alone. You know, I have been pushed beyond limits when it comes to like public speaking, to just know that I can do those things. It has pushed me to know that there's a community of folks, and to like, I'm very introverted, and like starting conversations with people, it's just me initiating, a little nerve-wracking, you know. But being able to be within community and be involved in this organization and have so many people just kind of cheering you on from the sidelines, virtually, in person, has really just helped kind of reshape my ability to navigate like those social components.
Okay.
It's helped me to continue to be okay with being a more outspoken voice, I guess, is what Baba has done for me.
Cool.
Yeah, Baba has really done a lot for me. I think that some of what has really kind of empowered me during this pause, we're definitely going to speak about at BlackCon. I think that in the intermediate, though, I think, well, one big thing that Baba has empowered me to do is actually apply for a PhD in behavioral analysis and get accepted. So I'm actually starting.
Nice. Congratulations.
In August. Yes. And thank you. And so that's a big deal for me, because I think what Baba has shown me is that I have facility with the science of ABA. I can engage in a dialogue about ABA, and I can immerse myself in the science and apply it to practice. And Baba has really given me the spaces to do that. So that's quite powerful. And, you know, it's helped to kind of counter some of those feelings that I have experienced with imposter syndrome, right? And with kind of feeling like, oh, should I be in this space? And Baba has shown me that you should absolutely be in this space. You should absolutely build your own table, right? Like you should absolutely pursue those interests, those dreams, those questions. And what we're also doing is we're having this real conversation about intersectionality at Baba, which I think has been important for me personally, right?
Yeah.
Just because I am someone that I do have visual issues, and I do struggle with migraines. And I think Barbara has embraced me in all of that. And I think this intersectionality conversation that we've started having is a lot more broad, and we'll get into that. But it's a lot more broad, and it's really thinking about what identities are there represented within and between our members, and how do we make sure that they are seen, right? And so, one example is celebrating Pride Month, right? Happy Pride.
Absolutely.
To folks who are celebrating, right? Like, I'm in New Jersey. There's a huge Pride celebration close by, which I'm excited about. And so recognizing those layers has also been really important to me.
All right, we're going to take one more break to do the ads, and then we'll be right back. All right, back to our conversation.
One thing that stands out to me, Abraham, you said this at the beginning where, historically the field has looked like Abraham and I, right? And you see that in academia and you see that in that space. And I think one of the things that really stands out to me is, and Jackie, you just mentioned it, sometimes it's like you have to build your own table, right? And I think that one of the things that BABA and WEBA and these organizations that are not directly linked to ABAI, that are kind of separated out as like independent organizations that are doing this really cool thing for folks that deserve the space, it's creating this opportunity to give folks skills to be able to push back against those systems and push into those spaces where historically they wouldn't have. I mean, Tiana, you mentioned before, like your public speaking stuff, like for folks that struggle with public speaking, being able to speak at a conference where you're feeling supported and safe and represented gives you the confidence, it gives you the opportunity to be able to push into those other spaces where historically that has not been the case. And I think that is one of the most important and critical side effects of organizations like BABA and WEBA and stuff like that in those spaces where you can help foster that skill to push back against systems that have historically not been supportive of marginalized groups. Like Jackie mentioning Pride and folks in those spaces and folks with visual impairments and stuff like that. Those organizations have not historically done a great job of DEI initiatives around that stuff. So I think it's worth just celebrating the fact that an organization is giving people a space to be able to help not just build a table and have a table that they can be represented at, but also to give them skills to push into those other tables that they have historically not been able to, or at least change those other tables, or at least, take people out of the seats that they shouldn't be in those spaces too. Like, I think that's just something worth celebrating that I find very valuable as somebody who has historically benefited from all the things that the system has given white folks, right? And so I just think that that's something that I have kind of learned and started to kind of reconcile and start to think about and ruminate on a lot over the last few years. And I just really like that about BABA and like why it's so important for BABA to exist in organizations like that. So I don't know if I had a question around that. I think that was just a general thought, but it was just something I've been reflecting on a lot. I think I've been reflecting on it quite a bit since BABA kind of came up. I was like, good. And I was like, then what does this mean and what does this look like? And I think that's just been a reflection I've had for quite some time.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything to say to that. So
I think it's nuanced, it's complicated, and I think it's also clear to us, like there is a need, right, for this space, for this conference. And in addition to the conference, what happens after the conference, right? Mm-hmm. That continued connection, that continued community, and that continued push for representation. I think that BABA is recognizing that there are members of our community who are, as we talked about, building their own table, creating their own businesses, working for themselves. There are also folks who are literally just starting out, right? And maybe do have a supervisor that doesn't look like them, or maybe they are the only Black person within that company. Maybe they are kind of concerned about sharing elements of their identity because that could impact their position. And so we're looking to encompass all of those folks in this conversation, in this conference. We're looking to really encourage them to attend, right? And to be there in person and to be immersed. And then I think it is also a space for practitioners to come and also learn, right? And see these speakers and connect and then go back and be like, hey, how do I need to reshape and change the existing power structure at my company, right? Like, how do I work to increase representation of Black people within my space at my company or at my clinic or at my practice? And so this is why I say it's a nuanced conversation. Challenging systemic racism takes time, it takes work, and we are committed to that work.
I love it.
one of the components in the overall realization is in the processing that many of us have gone through when it comes to BABA, the conference, and the organization, is that we meet at the conference, right? We build community at the conference, but then a lot of people tend to come back and not just say, how can I, take this back to work, but also how can I now support BABA, the organization too. So I think that being able, the conference is this holy grail of community and opportunity and learning and meeting, but then it also helps you identify like there's more need and people need me. And we do, we need you to help shape and continue to shape other individuals that are going to be in the field and help the community and like really be involved in those aspects. And I think the conference is where it starts, it bubbles a little bit, and then it boils over into and throughout the year where, we may have people who at first may not have been really sure or aware, like, how do I volunteer? How do I get active? What do I need to do to continue to help support? And they're able to have access to that information more intimately and more in person when they're, speaking right to us, right in the midst of the conference. And we can then build on that relationship, build on that interaction into where we have individuals who go from just conference attendees to being volunteers or being even like on the board and just helping continue to build and support that way.
Love that.
A message to our listeners. If you are interested in supporting the mission of this organization and this conference, register, sign up, donate, volunteer, get involved, and go do that right now. Right now. Get out there, and if you don't, then you don't support the mission, and that's just what I'm declaring.
It's a strong stance. That's strong.
I love the declaration.
Yeah, we need it. I'm fully in. I think one thing that the simplest thing, even if you can't do any of those things, if you can't volunteer, you can't donate for whatever reason, just share the information, share it out to people, because there's people that like maybe will never know that BABA existed.
Yeah.
Or they're getting in, like you mentioned, they're getting into the field. They're brand new to the field. So they have no idea what conference to go to this year or the next year. They have no idea what organizations to join. Like, so even if you can't do all the other things, just share it for folks so people can see it. Because even the visibility is more helpful than you could possibly know.
Absolutely agreed.
Yeah, I don't mean to financial shame anybody for whom the financial aspect is difficult.
No, you said volunteer. You said volunteer. That's fine too. Yeah, you're good.
It's fair. Okay. Your enthusiasm, both of you, is infectious. I'm very much looking forward to this. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or even personal anecdotes, fun stories to share, anything before we let you go?
Well, I think I didn't also add, and I'm realizing this. So I, grew up in London, now live in New Jersey, right? Practice in New York. So definitely want to also speak to the international community, right? And the fact that there are Black folks all over the world. Again, we recognize that financial piece has just been talked about. So if you can't fly in and join us in July in Baltimore, you can also register virtually. We would love for you to be there in person though. And so, I definitely want to also speak to the fact that BABA is an international organization, and we do welcome those folks who might not be in the US.
Love that.
Love it.
As introverted as I am, I just want whoever, just everybody, come meet. Come say hi. Make me a little bit uncomfortable and just greet and say, hey, I heard you on the podcast. I'm going to come say hi. I know you might shy away, but it's okay. Just come say hi. I mean, come say hi to all of us and come meet someone new and come just be a part of the fun, because it's a good time. It's a very good time. The learning experiences, the networking, all of it. It is a grand old time. So don't miss out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about this conference, about the organization. I caught the infectious enthusiasm that you're spreading, and I hope others did too. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, this was so great. Go to BlackCon. Go sign up. Do all the things. Give them all your money. Give them as much money. Give them all. Do all that stuff.
Just all of it. Yeah.
Come volunteer.
Come volunteer. They need volunteers.
Yeah, they do.
If you're a student, it's really great for your resume. So, and you get some experience with conferences. So go do that. If you're a student, volunteer. If you're an analyst, go volunteer. If you are around, volunteer, do it.
I kept forgetting. I want to make sure I plug the website is BABA Info, so babainfo.org. And if you're looking to donate, babainfo.org/donate would certainly help. But you'll find information about the conference and the organization at that website. So at the very least, go check it out. That's something you can do. You're listening to this, you're probably listening to from your phone. So just pull up a browser and go check out the website.
Yes, and sponsors. They're still looking for sponsors. So
that's right.
I believe that link is behaviorlive.com/conferences/blackcon/call for sponsors. But we will include all those links as well. We'll make sure. And if you can, please sponsor. That is helpful as well.
All right, cool. Thank you both.
Thank you both for being here. This was great.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. Again, thank you so much to Jackie and Tiana for joining us to talk about the conference and share their enthusiasm and what they're looking forward to. And I don't know, I feel like they really sold me on the idea of what sounds like fun. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot that people can take away from this. And of course, there's CEUs for those of you who need CEUs and are looking to an event where you might get a kind of different experience that you're used to, and then also get CEUs. So as a consideration.
Yeah, and I think it's also nice to have a conference alternative to the big conferences or state conferences that you don't like or anything like that. So even if you have already planned your conferences for the year, it's nice to get out and kind of and get out of the box and do something a little bit different,
Absolutely. And hopefully, a month isn't, it's not like a huge amount of planning, but it's also, I think a lot of people make plans about a month out from when they're going to do something. So, good on that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think that is about what we have to say. Anything that you would like to add before we get to our sort of closing out stuff?
No, I think that covers it.
If you'd like to support the show, our show, things that we do here, we're always happy to have people here. And if you do that, then I'm going to read your name. And that includes people such as Mike M, Megan, Mike T, Justin, Kim, Joshua, Brad, Stephanie, Olivia, Brian, Ashley, Kiara, and Michelle. Thank you all so much for being wonderful patron supporters. And that's why I say your name.
Yes, we appreciate you so much.
Yes. In addition, I have my team of people that really help me do this show. Writing and fact-checking from Shane and myself, audio engineering and mastering and wonderfulness from Justin, and our social media coordinator is Emma Wilson. If you'd like to reach us directly, you can email us at info@wwd.podcast.com or on the social media platforms if you'd like to learn more about BABA as part of the organization or the conference. As I mentioned in this, again, it's just babainfo.org, babainfo.org. You can learn more about it there.
Love it.
Otherwise, you can support the show if you don't want to do so financially by picking up some merch, leaving us a rating and review, liking and subscribing, telling a friend, maybe going to conferences that we have promoted and letting them know that we promoted them there so that then they want to come do more episodes with us. That could be a thing.
Yeah, exactly. I would love that.
But I think that's all we have to say for now. We'll have a sort of back to regularly scheduled program episode next week.
Yep. We're going to, I think, what are we doing next week? I don't know. Are we all thumbs next week? I don't know what we're doing.
We might be all thumbs next week. That might be all what's going on. A little teaser. And then, of course, we have, our mini comes out even before that. So we'll have a mini, we'll have thumbs, we'll talk about stuff. It'll be weird. It'll be great.
Welcome to the show, y'all.
But I think that's what we have. So I'll let it go there. This is Abraham.
And this is Shane.
You've been listening to Why We Do What We Do. You can learn more about this and other episodes by going to www.wwdpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we hope you have an awesome day.